So your samples need to be good at the source. If they don't sound good right before you even start mixing, then you need to move to different samples. But let me show you how I set everything up. So here I have an instance of Contact, and this is the drum kit from Modern and Massive. Everything from GGD sounds fantastic. I recommend all of their libraries. I just love the way Modern and Massive sounds for like punk rock, and I love the cymbal selection that they have as well. I am routing every single piece of the kit out to a different spot in my software here. So I have my kick, my snare, my hi-hats, toms, and then everything is getting routed to a drum bus, which is over here. I like to do top-down mixing, so I like to start at the buses and then start working down to the individual tracks. It'll save you a lot of time, and it'll actually help you with gain staging, and it really gives you an overall view of the song when you start mixing. So I'm going to turn off all the plugins we have here, and I'm going to show you how I start working my way backwards. So here is what the drums sound like with no processing on them. Now I like to throw some stuff directly onto the mix bus before I even touch the individual tracks. I will level everything out and get the volume sounding good, and then I will start putting my processing on the master bus. If you use Slate digital plugins, this preset is free. I'm giving away for free. Just click the link in the description and you can download it and start using it on yours. I have a couple different presets in here: bass, drum bus, electric guitars, and vocals. So I think you are going to like those. So let's take a listen to what this sounds like. See how I haven't even touched my kick drum track or my snare track or anything else, and it's already adding pop to the snare. It's already adding knock to the kick drum. This is why I work backwards. Like I said, this preset is free. You can just download it by clicking the link in the description. So now that I've got a good solid sound on my mix bus, now I will start working on the kick and the snare. So I'm using an instance of Trigger 2 here, and I am sample enhancing the kick drum. I like to blend kick drums together, and I like to blend snares together to kind of fill in some of the gaps that the other samples aren't really hitting. So let's take a listen to just what the kick drum sounds like, and then I will turn on Trigger 2. I love how it really has a nice tight low end. It's scooped a little bit in the mid-range, and it's nice and bright. And then it also has a few room mics blended in with it to give it a little bit of a sense of ambience there. One thing I love about samples is that they are pre-mixed. So you can just throw it on there and do a little bit of processing afterwards, and it sounds really, really good. I have a little bit of a low lift here, and then I am using an SSL style compressor to really kind of pull it in and grab it. So let's take a listen to what this sounds like. So as you can hear, it is adding a little bit more knock, a little bit more low end, and it is tightening everything in. So now onto my snare drum, I am pretty much doing the same thing. So with nothing on it, it sounds like this. One thing I love about Get Good Drums is you have an option to control the bleed. So you can really just come in here, click, and you can actually control how much bleed is going through your snare mic. So this is how much bleed is going through your top and how much bleed is going through your bottom mic. I have both of these routed to the same channel because I can adjust the snare top mic and the snare bottom mic all from inside the plugin here. So it saves me a little bit of real estate here inside of my DAW. So now I can add on Trigger 2 to the sample, and I'll show you what that sounds like. Really adds a lot of low end, thickens things up a little bit, and you can still hear some of the bleed because I have it blended in, although I like a little bit of bleed in my snare drum because it kind of glues the kit together. Now I have an instance of Virtual Mix Rack. I have an SSL style compressor here, an EQ, this compressor here, which is a VCA style compressor, and then I love adding revival to my snare drums. The thickness and shimmer knobs are exactly what they sound like. This adds some shimmer, this adds some thickness. So let's take a listen to what the snare drum sounds like with and without this plugin engaged. Adds a lot more low end, a lot more body, and a little bit more knock. So now for these toms, I didn't do anything to these toms. With Get Good Drums, Modern and Massive, they have samples that are pre-mixed and it's called turbo. You can just turn turbo on and off, or you can blend in the mix sample with the unmixed sample. The toms sound so good the way they are, especially with my mix bus processing going on here, that I left it and it sounded good. A lot of low end. They just sound good and I didn't need to touch them. So now I have the overheads here, and I'm not doing a whole bunch to them. I just have a little bit of EQ and a little bit of compressor on here. I'm pretty sure I did. I just pulled up a preset in the drums section here of Slate Digital, and it sounded great. It's just rolling off a little bit of the low end and brightening things up just a touch. Now this is where you get your massive sounding drum tones from. It is from your room samples. Your room samples are probably the most important part of your drum kit. Your drums are gonna sound artificial and just kind of fake if you don't have room samples blended in with them. I heard this saying a while ago, but it makes so much sense. I can't remember who said it, but clarity comes from your close mics, but your punch comes from your room mics. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So the drums sound like this. And then without the room mics, they still sound good, but they kind of sound almost a little bit fake in a way. Listen to when I bring the room samples back in. I have a room mono mic, a room close, and a room far mic. So listen to when I bring them back in, listen to how the snare kind of punches and extends out a little bit more. If you want your snare drum to punch, especially your snare drum, you need to have room samples. You can blend them in with Trigger 2 and add some room samples in there, or you can even manually add room samples in there, or if you have something like GGD, you can route the samples to your DAW and treat them like microphones. If you're recording an actual kit, you need to have a room mic somewhere. Now I have a track for my cymbals, but once again, my cymbals sounded great after I added my mix bus processing, so it wasn't worth touching. If you use Slate Digital plugins, click the link in the description and download those free presets. I think you're gonna find them handy. You can't ever have drums without bass. So if you wanna know how to get loud and in-your-face bass mixes, click this video and I will show you exactly how I do it with one plugin. It's pretty cool, and it's probably not what you think. So thank you for watching, and now as always, go create.